IEC will be holding interviews for a new commissioner later today in Johannesburg. 12 candidates will be interviewed by several heads of Chapter 9 institutions, including the offices of the Chief Justice and Public Protector. Now, the interviews come nearly a year away from next year's elections. Let's unpack the significance of this now with founder and CEO of the Election Management Consulting Agency of Africa, that's Lulu White, who joins us via our video link this morning. It's great to have you on the program, Lulu. Thanks so much indeed for making time. My understanding is that the IEC already has 3 commissioners. Do we need a 4th one?
Yep. Yes, we do. In terms of the Constitution, in terms of Chapter 9, you actually need 4 commissioners, permanent commissioners that sit at the IEC. And the term of office of one of the reason why you're having interviews is that one of the commissioners, Janet Love, her term of office expired. If you know, the IEC's commissioners actually have a 7-year term. And that was done intentionally so that there must always be a commissioner during an election period. This is why last year you had the chairperson of the IEC, Glenn Mashinini, was reappointed once again. So each year, when a commissioner's term of office expires, they have to make sure that they replace. But the IEC is, by law, supposed to have 4 permanent commissioners that sit on their commission.
Right. My understanding is that the leadership structure is quite different. So there are 4 commissioners, there's a chairperson and a CEO. I suppose as we think about what these interviews will entail later on today, it's worth trying to unpack what the role of a commissioner actually is in a context where there are so many other people leading the IEC.
Look, in terms of the law, the role of the commission is basically to make sure that the IEC is able to hold independent elections, nationally, provincially, and local. So there's 2 types of elections: national and provincial, and the local government elections. Their role has become much more critical now, more than ever. With the new legislation obviously coming into effect that says now independent candidates need to be able to participate at both the national and the provincial legislation. It basically means that the work that they now have is the people that sit over that provide oversight over the activities of the IEC. It has become much more critical because their role is to ensure that the elections that are conducted freely, they are conducted fairly with integrity, and that they become a true reflection and a true representation of the will of the people of South Africa. So their role is actually quite critical. Now, there's always been an argument to say, why is it that the Electoral Commission or any other organization, of course, requires commissioners once they have the executive, which is the CEO and the deputy CEO and the like. Look at it from the perspective of, in a private company, you would have a board. So the Electoral Commission of the IEC in this particular instance is the board that the IEC's CEO and the executive actually report to make sure that, whatever it is that the IEC is required to do in terms of the Constitution is actually carried out. Right.
Okay, that's good to know. I mean, we understand that there are 12 candidates for this 4th commissioner position.
There's a yeah.
All right, let me try to repeat the question. My understanding is that there are 12 candidates for the position of this 4th commissioner, including... Are you able to hear me now?
I can hear you perfectly now.
All right, let me try for a 3rd time. There are 12 candidates, at least from the information on my hand, for this 4th commissioner, including Janet Love. And I wonder whether that gives her any competitive advantage, you reckon? Because she, of course, my understanding is that she had a stint as the vice president of the IEC at some stage. Vice chair, I beg your pardon.
Yeah. Look, in terms of continuity, obviously it would be ideal to be able to retain somebody like Janet Love as a commissioner. But you also have Advocate Geraldine Shepaglo, who was actually a senior manager at the Electoral Commission for quite a number of years. So I think also that in itself also gives her an advantage to be able to sit in the commission. As you know, the IEC is known and has previously in the past had senior managers and even I think you remember Mr. Msutu Miepe, who was once a CEO, who's now become a commissioner. So obviously, in terms of making sure that there's advancement for members of the Electoral Commissions, particularly senior members of the Electoral Commission, it does also place Geraldine Shepherd-Lowe in a very good position to ascend to that particular position. So I think in terms of what I'm looking at on the list, there is comes with the required experience, and people that have interacted with her and that work with her say she's actually brought in a very refreshing outlook to how elections are actually supposed to take place. The experience that Shepherd-Lowe would also bring would also strengthen the Electoral Commission. Generally, I do feel, when I looked at the candidates, I do feel that it would be nice to see more and more candidates that are more around the age of Bongegile Zulu, younger people actually moving to Electoral Commission's positions, because up till now we have been seeing quite senior and senior people participating in this particular exercise. I don't know whether it's because the requirement is main, the main requirement that is focused on where Electoral Commission is concerned is around academia. But in terms of the requirements, people from civic society are actually also allowed to participate and apply to become commissioners. So it would be nice to see a younger crowd perhaps in the next election. But I do not think that Ms. Love has a particularly different exposure in terms of saying added advantage, because you also have Geraldine Shepherd-Lowe, who also comes in with the very same understanding of what the IEC does, particularly from a management's perspective.
Yeah, I wonder if I can sneak this question in, because I'm a bit wary of our connection to you, Lulu. But in the past, we've heard sometimes even senior politicians trying to cast aspersions, dare I say, on the independence of the IEC by insinuating that some of the commissioners and other people in the executive are affiliated to particular political parties and work to that end in their work. I wonder whether it's worth the IEC addressing that as part of their interviewing process, or do you reckon that just gives it too much oxygen and actually, ironically, puts the independence of the IEC in jeopardy?
Look, I think you need to remember that all of us, let's talk about it. I think it's time actually people actually also air these aspersions, and then the IEC finds the time to address them. Now, from somebody sitting from the sidelines, I'd like to just first start by saying, in South Africa, we are all voters. Majority of all people, we all vote. And in terms of the law, we have a right to vote. We have a right to be part of associations and part of organizations. The requirement, however, is that members who work for the Electoral Commission, particularly in senior positions or in certain positions, are not supposed to have a high political profile. Now, if you look at that in terms of what the law requires, it does not mean that people must not be members of political organizations. It simply means that they must not have high political profile. And if we have to define what high political profile, it would be somebody who would hold some form of position, whether it's a secretary, branch secretary, or a chairperson, or whatever role in a political organization. People at that level are not able to participate, whether it's even just at a point of being a presiding officer. So a role as that of a presiding officer, a person cannot have a high political profile. Now, given the background that all the people that work at the Electoral Commission are people that must vote, that in itself should already let you know that obviously there are people that are affiliated to various political parties, but it is very important also to know that there's the regulations that exist, also the Act as well and the Constitution as well. It provides an outline of what happens when an Electoral Commission or a member of the Electoral Commission is found to be to have had some form of misconduct as a result of their affiliation to a political party, and that is a summary dismissal. So, as far as the independence of an organization, of an organization such as the IEC, I do think that when you compare the South African IEC to what has been that's what's been happening in other countries, you really have to commend how far the IEC has really done in South Africa to try and remain as neutral as is possible. Yes, it's not been easy because certain commissioners and even members of the executive have been known to have been associated and affiliated to certain people. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission particularly, and the vice chairperson, by law, actually has to be appointed by the president. That also in itself, suggests otherwise. But in terms of the independence of the commissioners, the law is quite strict in terms of what it is that is expected of them, and if they're found to have done some sort of misconduct, what procedures need to be taken to have those people removed from office. And in my view, the IEC has really done well in ensuring that they measure up to the requirements of the Electoral Commissions Act.
All right. Lulu White, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. It's an incredibly important story, and we'll keep watching those interviews as they unfold later today. Lulu White is the CEO and founder of the Elections Management Consulting Agency of Africa.